I am Maria Garcia de Fleury. Agatha was from a rich and aristocratic family. On February 5th, 251, Agatha was martyrized in Catania, Italy, during the persecution of Emperor Decius. But before she died, they tortured her severely because the consul, Quintinian, wanted this beautiful, rich, and noble girl to marry him. Agatha, being a teenager, refused because she had decided to be a virgin for Jesus Christ. From the moment she had expressed her will to consecrate herself to God, she had received from her bishop a red veil that consecrated virgins wore. Quintinian took advantage of the promulgation of the anti-Christian edict of Emperor Decius to arrest her and forced her to bend to his will. As Agatha resisted, he handed her over to Aphrodisia, a perverse woman who had prostituted many young girls. Agatha, clinging to prayer, resisted despite having been at her mercy for 30 days. No one was able to deviate her from continuing in her purpose of being the wife of Jesus Christ. Seeing the futility of her attempt, Quintinian summoned her to court, where he subjected her to an interrogation, and she told him, "I am free and noble by birth. My entire family proves it. But my own choice, I am servant of Christ, because nobility supreme consists in being a servant of Christ." Quintinian, furious, ordered her to be locked up in a completely dark prison. Since she did not change her mind, he ordered her to be whipped and tortured. It was the way of the powerful to try to convince people to bend their principles. Agatha was summoned again 4 days later and tenaciously refused to deny Christ. For this reason, Quintinian subjected her to new tortures, and they took her back to prison, where she thanked God for having made her emerge victorious from the tortures and asked God to receive her into his bosom. As a result of the tortures, Agatha died, but she died peacefully and quietly. During the tortures, the entire city of Catania was shaken by a strong earthquake. The entire town ran over to the court and protested because a holy servant of God was being tormented, and for that reason everyone was in grave danger. Thinking about the terrible torments that Agatha had to endure, we come to the conclusion that only God could make a young woman like her obtain the courage, the strength, and the audacity to live what she lived. Word spread everywhere about the bravery of this young girl, and many went to her funeral impressed by her firmness in defending her love for Christ. The Christians collected her relics, and soon the fame of her heroism spread throughout Christendom. The comparison between the young Agatha and those who currently live in times of persecution against Christians is surprising. The history of the martyrs is a history that is always current and alive. The veneration of Saint Agatha, both in the East and the West, has been documented since the 5th century. After her death, a series of miracles happened. Many fathers and doctors of the church wrote about her. There are numerous churches that have been built in many places in her honor, recognizing the flame of her perseverance and her martyrdom. Her devotion becoming is one of the most widespread of all, because Agatha gave her life knowing that with God we always win.